It is incredible what a legacy people can leave if they just do proper planning and have the conversations as early as they can.
In your tenure at Hackensack Meridian, you're responsible for bringing in way over $10 million.
When a donor includes an organization in their will, they're elevating that organization to the level of a family member or a friend.
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at and how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
I am really excited today where I have a very special guest, Jackie M. Bartley J.D.
Yes.
She currently serves as Vice President of Gift Planning at Hackensack Meridian Health Foundation. She's a lawyer. She has been in the charitable giving space for over 25 years.
Yes.
Hate to say that.
Yes.
And you have
almost 3 decades.
This is a serious conversation today about charitable giving. In your tenure at Hackensack Meridian, you're responsible for bringing in 6 gifts way over $10 million, which is publicized in your bio. I want to share the concept of charitable giving and how people can benefit from giving to charity, not just the ultimate give and the charity gets it now. Before we jump in, I want to ask you a really serious question.
Okay.
All right. When you first heard the title of the podcast, Money Isn't, what jumped into your mind?
I was actually excited about the title, Money Isn't, because in the charitable giving space, most of our conversations are about passion, about impact, about why someone wants to do something. So money isn't the focus.
Right.
It's a long-term conversation that gets you to talking about money. So for me, Money Isn't is a really perfect name as it relates certainly to charitable giving. And I want to thank you, John, for the great introduction. And you started with mentioning the gifts,
Correct.
The big gifts.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say is first and foremost, huge team effort. So as part of my role, I'm very fortunate to be the Vice President of Gift Planning. I work with individuals who have complex assets, who consider doing something maybe outright, but many times deferred. So it's a blended gift. And I get the great, and really it's such a team effort. And for me, it's such a great thing to be able to work with so many individuals across the network. So you're not just working with the donor, you're working with your colleagues, you're working with doctors who may have treated the patient, the donor. You're working with leadership. And then, of course, the biggest, I would say, a lot of the time that I spend is with professional advisors like you.
Right.
Crafting, working on the best way to design a gift that, does involve complex assets, involves intergenerational giving, certainly the next generation, including them in those conversations. So there's a lot to it, but it's always when you're working on a really big, complex gift, there are many, many people involved. And in my organization, it's an entire team. We're a team of 125 plus.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, we're a big organization. I might be wrong on the number, but it's up there.
130, somewhere
Let's say
in between.
It's 75 plus.
But
Seems like a lot of people.
Everybody on this team is dedicated to the charitable giving side.
Everybody on the foundation team dedicated to charitable giving. Our chief development officer, everybody's involved in the whole process.
Wow.
From the CEO down. It really is a wonderful effort. And then at the end of the day, I think the best part of charitable giving is celebrating the donor.
Yeah.
Donors, couple, whoever is making the gift at that time, but is recognizing and celebrating them if they choose to be
A
celebrated.
lot of people they don't want their plaque on the wall.
Correct.
They don't want the blah, blah, blah wing of the hospital.
You're right. You're right. We do have many people who choose to remain anonymous. And what we do, I've been in many of these conversations where we try to encourage people. If they want to remain anonymous, that's their choice. Absolutely, we honor that. That's important.
Sure.
And there are many donors who fit within that category. But for people who are sort of on the fence, if we have an opportunity to explain how much it means for grateful patients as they're sitting, pick a wing, in cardiology or oncology. I mean, cancer touches everybody. Unfortunately, and same with cardiology. And as people are sitting there and they're waiting, they're in the waiting area, they're looking around and they see a name and they think, who's that person? And how did they do that?
And why did they do that?
And why did they do that?
I think that's the inspiration.
That's right.
That people get like, okay, why did they make that decision? And sometimes it's from the heart, but a lot of times it's financially motivated because the economics are so compelling for strategic planning.
Well,
it's a win-win. It's not, hey, we gave to charity and we feel good. It's like we gave to charity and we won financially and the charity wins financially. And there's not a win-lose. It's a win-win. That's
100%,
really powerful.
100%. It is a win-win. I mean, for most people that we work with, the underlying motivation is absolutely the passion for. It's either a doctor that treated the individual, a nurse, a nursing team that were there for them throughout their whole stay, a program. I mean, the list goes on of the reason, the why, and it usually is either great care for the individual themselves or a family member, loved one, friend, and they feel really compelled to give.
Are you a business owner and tired of wasting all of your profits to taxes?
At Smallwood Wealth Management, we design plans to put more money back in your pocket, not the IRS's.
So schedule your free, no obligation business owner checkup call.
Then as they start to consider what they want to do, they start looking at their assets. And, if someone wants to give outright and they have a conversation with us, we start to talk to them about, well, what's the best way for you to do this? Many times people will have an idea of the impact that they want to make. And in that conversation, you start to learn about maybe the range of gift.
Right.
And many people that we work with have highly appreciated assets. Let's face it, we're in New Jersey. And
commercial office space, residential rentals, highly appreciated stock.
The biggest, I would say, most popular gift is the highly appreciated stock when it comes to appreciated assets. Real estate, though, is certainly real estate. And that conversation leads into, they start thinking about all of their alternative investments. And most people, I mean, cash is not king. Mm-hmm. Wealth is not held in cash. It's really in these alternative investments that, frankly, they have big impact.
Right.
I mean, the
value of the company.
I mean, if somebody comes to you with highly appreciated stock, hey, I bought this 30 years ago or 20 years ago at $20, it's now $250 a share, I mean, that's a pretty compelling reason to use that asset. And really it's a benefit, as you said, to the organization, but to that individual.
Yeah.
Major capital gains savings.
I think what's interesting too, like, I'm going to go backwards for a second. About 10 years ago, my wife and I went out to Napa for the first time.
Nice.
Right. And we were out there and you have these beautiful vineyards and somebody said, you got to go to the Ehlers Vineyard, and it's EHLERS. And the symbol, the E, has a heart in it. And we went and they did a chocolate pairing and it was like unbelievable. Like, we're like, oh, wow. It was the only it was like one of the most sustainable, environmentally friendly vineyards.
Right.
And we started to like just dig into like, tell us more about who owns it and what they did. And this guy from Cleveland area, his life was saved by the Cleveland Clinic in the heart area. And he decided that he bought the vineyard and made a charitable contribution to it. And all of the revenue, all of the net profit, 100% of the net profit goes to the Cleveland Clinic.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing. And it's like, he got, according to him, he had like 15 extra years of life, and he just celebrated this. It was it's like, it's one of those things where you look at it and go, he won because he got the extra life, but he gave to the charity because he was so passionate about it. Right. So, but I want to go back even further and just, let's talk about the basics of charitable giving. Like most people think about like, there's a pledge and I'm going to give $1.
Right.
And I get a little tiny tax deduction for that $1. And now the charity has that money. And people go, well, I don't want to do that, and big scale. Right.
Yes.
But people also, like we were just talking about, understand that, hey, the big scale, there's more than just the tax deduction for this. But let's go through the different forms of charitable giving.
Sure.
Let's get the basics out first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the basics is somebody comes to you and they want to do something. You talk about the $1 gifts, the $10, the $100 gifts, and then more, 1,000 and so forth. A lot of people who give in those kind of increments, a lot of times it's through annual giving appeals. I mean, I don't know how full your mailbox is,
It's
but
pretty darn full.
yeah. Every day we get an appeal from some organization, and our organization does that as well.
We have 4. We did a event this year for Love Thy Neighbor, which you attended at the house.
It was wonderful.
Raised like $35,000 for that.
That was incredible.
We're doing the Aslan Youth Golf Outing. We're sponsoring another golf outing, which is all the proceeds are going to charity. And then we're sponsoring another pickleball tournament coming up in October. That's all going to a charity.
Wow.
So like we're very, very involved in the community, but that's a small part of what we're doing. And it's putting people together to say, hey, this thing does really great benefit in the area. They don't get enough funding. They need our help. But like the hospital is a much larger piece, but it's that ability to get this level of care that everybody wants.
That's right. And that's why we really do have to cast a wide net. You talked about, and by the way, I just want to applaud you on the kind of involvement that you and your wife and your family do in the community, in the charitable space. Bringing networks of people together to expose them to new ideas, new charitable interests is incredible. It's so impactful. I was pleased to attend and really open my eyes to an organization I knew nothing about.
Correct.
So that's incredible. But back to, in our world, we'll do appeals in the annual giving space. A lot of times it's the community, grateful patients. We have many people who at some point in their lives or their children's lives, or they end up in one of our hospitals, the ER usually.
Mm-hmm.
And in healthcare, you don't want to think about the ER after you're out and you're healthy.
Right.
It's kind of, okay, it was good. I'm out. I'm happy.
Safe.
I'm safe, right?
Everybody's safe and happy listening to this.
And so there's a lot of gratitude after that experience. We have people who are just so thrilled. They had something happened, they're in and they're out, and they're happy that they're feeling good or their family members feeling good. And they are compelled to write a check to our organization. And, that's any one of our hospitals. But I just you said about the basics. One very interesting thing is that people don't even realize they can give to certain organizations, many.
Right.
And the hospital system's a good example of that. People go, oh, it's a nonprofit. I mean, I can actually write a check. So we do a lot of educating in that space. And so starting with those annual giving appeals and getting the word out, and people write checks and get involved that way. And then it moves into further conversations. And that's where the larger gifts come in, or gifts that involve something more than writing a check. And that's when, for example, somebody, they're a loyal donor. Donor loyalty is really a big indicator of obviously an interest in any organization. Somebody gives consistently, it means that they really love your organization. And in our world, we like to follow up with those individuals, thank them, try to engage them. And many times we find that they're happy to be engaged. They want to volunteer, or they want to serve on the board. They want to become a part of the community in which they're supporting. And then that leads to the bigger conversations. So back to the basics, we get somebody involved and they want to do a scholarship for nurses. And they decide at that point that, hey, I want to do it a different way. I'm not going to write an outright check. I'm going to do a combination of things.
Okay.
I'm going to use stock, or depending on their age, I have an IRA, or I want to do my required minimum distribution. You know, if somebody is 70 and a half and over, they have, it's just a great opportunity for them to use, if they don't need that money, to use it in a charitable way, or a portion of it.
Correct.
And it's a great asset to give.
There's a couple different ways. Like when people are thinking about, a lot of people get stuck in the Medicare trap, where the Medicare premium goes up because of the IRMA, right? The earned income. But there's like, if you have an IRA and you have a required minimum distribution, that's kicking you up into this higher, tax brackets, or the IRMA levels, which is pushing your Medicare, like, let's say it's $197 a month, but if your income crosses over a bridge, it could be $790 a month. People are like, what? So the idea is, well, that if I have to give away if I have to take $30,000 out of the IRA as a required minimum distribution, I can actually do that from the custodian before the RMD and make a charitable contribution.
Correct. Direct transfer.
And it directly reduces.
Yes. And it's popular, these direct transfers, where it's wonderful that there is this opportunity. It's great for charitable organizations. The direct transfer, we always tell people, don't take it out. Make sure, you reach out to your account advisor and they write the check directly to us. That avoids, right? They get that tax benefit, and it's a direct distribution. We are organizations that are 501c3s. They are able to get that 100%. And it's a ripple effect. So not only does the charity win, you pick up the savings from the other side if you bring your income down below a certain level. It's like a win-win. It is, so much of what we're talking about is a win-win ultimately. If people are extremely charitable and they want to, the motivation, and we really started this conversation with the why.
Right.
The why is so about what motivates them, what they're feeling. I have dealt with and worked with so many extraordinary stories, people who are transplant survivors that have such an unbelievable gratitude to that team. And in that instance, I'm talking about up at Hackensack University Medical Center, at Jersey Shore University Medical Center. We've had people with major cardiac episodes who've had extremely effective, life-saving treatments. Same in the neurospace, and the list goes on. I have a whole list. Our pediatrics, I mean, I don't want to just say, I'll say that every area is incredible, but just to, use those as examples, we have people reach out that were so impacted that they want to do something. What can I do?
Yeah.
And
how do I help?
How do I help? And many times those conversations involve the leadership at those particular hospitals. It involves the doctors and nurses who are involved. to, identify. We're always identifying what opportunities. It really starts with the donor-centered, what the donor wants to do, and then we work to accomplish that if it makes sense for the organization. And many times, somebody who's had a great experience, they want to give to either research or to that team directly, or they want to fund equipment. I mean, the list goes on. But then the conversations really turn into, well, how much would that be? In some instances, it's outright.
Yeah.
It's an outright check or, a pledge over a term of years. We do 5-year pledges. Other times it's, I want to do something today and I want to do something in the future. I want my legacy to be here,
right.
Part of my legacy. I mean, people
I want to say thank you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you.
Perpetuity.
That's correct. And so those are the conversations where we're talking to someone about, well, and this is where John comes in. He knows all the assets. He'll have a conversation with you, but
basis of all the assets, the highly appreciated,
yes,
the tax recapture of all the accumulated depreciation.
Correct.
That shocks the hell out of people when they look at their tax bill. They're like, what?
Yes. And so we would, if they give us the opportunity to talk to the professional advisor, which many donors do, they say, let's all have a conversation together. And those are frankly, the best situations because everybody's on the same page. But what the conversation, ends up being, especially with the legacy gifts, is, well, do you have insurance, beneficiary designation, whole life insurance, a possibility?
Some sort of permanent.
That's right.
Be here.
Correct.
I mean, that in itself, hey, I don't need my insurance policy anymore.
That's right.
Change the donation to a charitable.
It is a popular, I almost say it is so popular and it's painless. It doesn't involve really much more than just as you've indicated. That's just one line on the policy.
I mean, even if you let's say you're 40 years old for an example, right? And you say, I love this charity and I want to give them money today and I want to give them money in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If you did, just say you used the whole life policy for an example, right? And you say, I'm going to put $10,000 a year into it, but I'm going to own it at the moment, but the beneficiary is going to be the charity.
Mm-hmm.
But the dividend on the policy that usually gets reinvested, what if I took the dividend out and made a charitable gift with the dividend next year and the year after and the year after and the year after, and I could make it in the form of a direct charitable gift, or I could do a charitable remainder trust or a charitable lead trust. I can do all kinds of NIMCRUTs and blah, blah, blah. I'm using a lot of terms here, but it's like, if you think about that, if I'm doing that, I'm creating an asset that I'm going to benefit from, but ultimately it all flows to the charity, because you have to think about this for a second. You and I have a finite time frame on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
A really good charity goes in perpetuity.
That's right.
It's going to be here for multiple generations if it has the resources to sustain itself.
That's right.
And last.
That's right. And that kind of thinking is so, it's wonderful with professional advisors like yourself who are thinking in that way, because sharing those ideas with donors, that there are some people that really want to do something, but they don't feel that they can at the level that they want to at that stage in their life.
Right.
So, they say, what's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago, right?
What's the best time to do a charitable gift? 20 years ago. But right now.
Right
now.
Exactly.
And if I don't plant the tree right today, the tree won't be here 20 years.
That's right.
Today.
That's right. And so, and you mentioned a whole bunch of my favorite, you mentioned NIMCRUT and CRUTs and charitable lead trusts. They're all incredible vehicles for charitable giving.
Yeah.
Charitable remainder trusts. We just had a situation where we were meeting with someone who had some very highly appreciated real estate scenario. and wanted to do something significant in the future and something today. So kind of it's called a blended gift. And this individual was able to give that appreciated stock right away to help fund a research fellowship.
Oh.
So yeah, incredible. In the area that really motivated this individual, and it's in cancer research. So wonderful story on that end. Talk about direct benefit to the organization. I mean, you have then a fellow who is funded, and we just have such a need to have more and more, frankly, volume of individuals who can help, right? It's our state, people keep moving in. We have more and more patients, but we have to have people who can treat and work on that.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And in this instance, it made sense to establish a charitable remainder trust with all of the certainly for him to infuse some money into that, to get the gain to be carried over many, many years. So, bury that capital gains in a great way. And then, receive an income stream. So he gets to receive that income stream, and the remainder, which will be significant down the road, will go to one of our hospitals. And that's just, that was a solution based on just conversations with the donor and working in that case very directly with the legal team, who was writing up the document.
When you stop, you think about this for a second, right?
Yeah.
And you think about, okay, let's just use $1 million appreciated piece of property with like zero basis. Let's just use that as an example. Right? Which happens because of depreciation and accelerated depreciation and other related things. Or it could be 100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. And you look at the tax impact of that. And a lot of people are like, oh, I sell that $1 million asset, and after capital gain tax, New Jersey tax, Medicare tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of that depreciation on that commercial property gets recaptured at a higher tax rate than that of capital gain rate, typically 25. Okay. So you're talking about, you might end up with 500,000 or 600,000 when you were thinking you're going to end up with like 800. So like when you start to think about it, you start thinking about a piece of property, it may not be producing any income because it has to be retooled, it has to be re-envisioned, it has to be, and you're sitting here and you're like, the rent that I'm receiving is not generating any income.
Mm-hmm.
If I sell it, I pay the tax, I have 600,000, I go put it in a 5% vehicle just to do the math, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get like $30,000 a year and my family will inherit $600K.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, what if you gave that property to the charitable remainder trust? There's like a ripple effect that goes on.
That's right.
All right. So the first thing is, depending on how old you are, you can get a big deduction, a tax deduction based upon your age. The older you are, the higher the deduction is. But now you're going to get typically an income off that $1 million that could be 5%, could be more.
Yeah.
So it's 50,000 versus 30,000 at the same 5%. And then how do you use the tax deduction? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people are sitting on IRAs that are just, tax time bombs.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what if I use that deduction to convert a portion of the IRA to Roth without tax? What's the ripple effect that I just did in that strategy? So now my after-tax income is substantially more.
Yeah. And that's important conversations, frankly, that we hope donors are having
with us.
Yes.
Because you guys can't give advice.
Well, we can.
But you have a solution.
We have a solution, certainly. Give all of your appreciated property and stuff
to us right now.
To Hackensack Meridian Health.
And money isn't recommended at Hackensack Meridian. That's something that you need to be very, very comfortable with. But the power of the charitable gift unlocks highly appreciated
Absolutely.
stock. You're sitting on a position of Apple. You're sitting on a
Yes.
position of, whatever, company stock.
That's right. And it's it's actually, it really, I'm not even saying this facetiously. It's a great solution. It's a solution for all because you're going to pay tax anyway. And if you're charitable by nature, here's a great solution to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And that's giving to an organization that you love. But at the same token, you're saving some money along the way. The one
you have
thing
really good planning. You're not disinheriting your family.
That's right.
Because like we talked about life insurance before, and people are like, oh, that death benefit. I'm like, well, the death benefit's a permission slip to exit property in a strategic way and still provide value back to your family.
Correct.
If that's what your goal is.
That's right. And that's where some of these vehicles, like the Charitable Lead Trust, is a wonderful example of
pretty cool.
Providing for your, we don't, I've worked on a few of them. They're exciting, frankly, because the lead comes to the charity, and it depends.
So the same $1 million piece, instead of the client getting the income, there's a fixed period of time.
Correct.
Where the charity gets the income for the first, 10 years, 15 years? It depends.
I've worked on 20-year and a 7-year one, believe it or not. It was, the person was up there in years. But the lead trust, what's so great about it is it really is it's a planning tool. It's a generational planning tool. You're awarding the organization, rewarding that you love, and you get to see it in fixed time.
Current income.
So the organization gets to see it. You get to see it during your life, which is really nice. And then the family, whether it's, loved ones, grandkids, children, they'll receive the remainder. It's kind of the opposite of a charitable remainder trust, but it really is. It's a great charitable planning tool. And, by the same token, charitable remainder trust remains so popular because of the fact that, some people do need to derive that income. So the idea of giving to charity down the line is a big part of their planning. And usually, invariably, what happens is I find that people that use that and gifts like that as, and I'll even say beneficiary designations or will provisions or a provision in a trust. So these are deferred. They're going to be, depending on the person's age, if they're, it's based on their life expectancy or, beyond. Many people, I always joke, I say people who do charitable gift annuities in particular, they always outlive their life expectancy. So
tell me more about that one.
The charitable gift annuity, and we do those at Hackensack Meridian. It is a vehicle where an individual wants to give to the charity. They receive income. It's based on age, life expectancy tables, and so forth. And they basically receive income in return. They can do it based on their life and their spouse. They can do it to life. They can do an individual. We have an age minimum where we like to start. We're not doing any 25-year-old charitable gift annuities. But it's a great tool because it's somebody who likes to receive that stream of income, but they're giving charitably. It grows. It's invested, so it grows over time. So at the end of the day, the charity will receive something. And it's a good vehicle for a certain type of individual who likes to give that way. We find that those individuals also tend to, and this is the same with charitable remainder trusts and others, they tend to give during their lifetime as well.
Correct.
There's a big myth that, if somebody does a will, they're going to stop giving. Or if they do a deferred gift, that's it. They're just doing that deferred gift. That's actually, and there's a lot of verified data and research out there that's not the case at all. In fact, many of them give more than they had in the past during their lifetime because they're engaged, they're invested, and many tend to give annually. So it's a really great thing. The other thing I would say that we touched upon, but or not yet actually, but retirement assets.
Yeah,
So
let's dive in there
yeah,
because that's a
so
big topic today.
yeah, so beneficiary designations are popular. We have had people come to us, and it's it really depends. All of these gifts depend on the profile of the individual.
Right.
In one instance, we had somebody who is just very committed to the organization, loves the organization, and wanted to have an impact beyond the individual's years. So gives annually, and wanted to really fund, again, it's interesting, but it usually ends up being something like, well, they can give to anything, but it's usually in the area that they work or the area that they love. And in this one instance, it was really to fund medical students who round at one of our hospitals. The solution was a blended gift using a retirement asset that is appreciated, accumulated over many
100%
years.
tax at ordinary income.
Yes,
There's no way to get out of that.
There's no.
There is, but through
correct,
through
correct, and so giving annually, again, back to that required minimum, and giving in that way, and then the beneficiary designation. Some people decide that they want to make the organization, because they have other assets. They want to make the organization 100% beneficiary or 25% beneficiary. Some of these retirement assets have accumulated so much over the years that it is so surprising how much 25% or 10%
can be.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it's a really creative way to approach supporting a medical student and their research and that sort of thing. And again, you talked about earlier about the gentleman who gave to Cleveland Clinic and that very creative way of packaging that. I mean, who would have thought that wine and chocolate would be now benefiting, right?
I want to go right. I want to fly right now.
Right. But
let's bring some donors and go out.
Yes, if anyone's listening, that would be any of our donors. That's a great trip. But that is truly an incredible way to frankly use an asset in the most charitable way, but creative. I mean, I would not have thought that there would be a situation that's benefiting consistently, right? Because you said the proceeds are going
currently, like it's there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of creative conversations that we have all the time with individuals to say, we'll talk to people. They want to make a big impact. And the great thing about working with professional advisors is to package that dream with the advisors, because they know the assets. Like the person knows that they, hey, I've got this, I've got that, and they sort of know what they have, but they are thinking just of what's in my pocket today. Yeah. Or, they're not thinking about the 20-year plan or the 30-year plan. And it is incredible what a legacy people can leave if they just frankly do proper planning and have the conversations as early as they can.
Yeah. The sooner the better, because
the sooner the better.
When something happens, it's actually too late.
Well, that's right. I mean, we tell people, and again, you're in the business, so I'm sure, and knowing you, John, you're probably evaluating annually or so with your clients, and just making sure that things are probably
very frequently.
Yeah,
it depends on the client, but it's anywhere between
1 and 2 years.
4 to 6 months.
Oh, 4 to 6. So you're
every 4 to 6 months that we're back.
Amazing.
And doing. And sometimes it's, hey, we need to do this at least annually.
Yeah.
Some clients it's a little bit longer, but most people,
there's
enough going on that you need to rethink that. Like this whole big tax law change, is actually really powerful in so many different ways, and charity actually, in my opinion, shines out through it, because it's never about one thing. And I find in the financial services business, people it's like a set of golf clubs. Like, this is going to be the miracle solution. This, this four wood, this rescue club is going to be your solution.
You're talking my husband's language.
Yeah, it's going to be the solution. That's not the solution. Your swing still sucks, right? Like, the solution is in the swing. The product, the charitable remainder trust or the charitable lead trust or the, the current gift, or it's a part of the coordinated swing, right? So you sit here and you say, well, I've got all these tools and I can benefit now. I can get tax deductions. The charity can benefit now and my kids get the money later or somebody else. Mm-hmm. I've got this IRA where I got to take required minimum distributions. I can use charitable deductions to dramatically change that outcome, dramatically change it. Mm-hmm. But you got to think outside the box. But my position is it's not one thing. It's every little detail, because like people come in, they go, I got this problem. And like, I'm bleeding over here, right? My arm is bleeding. And the doctor goes, well, did you see your knee? Yeah. Right? Your knee is like hemorrhaging. Like, we got to put a tourniquet on that right now. That's not the problem. But you're looking over here and there's this other asset that's highly inefficient. And you're like, well, what if you did that asset? How does it help this asset along with this asset? And does it improve your tax efficiency? Does it improve as much estate as you want to give to your family? Like, my dad was always talking about it. Today's actually would have been my dad's 82nd birthday. Died 3 years ago from a cancer thing, right? So we're very passionate about that. And it was it's part of life, right? It's what we do in the planning, but it's always too young.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's always too young. But the reality is, it's like, if you had like a really good plan, when stuff goes wrong, you're going to navigate through that beautifully with charitable giving and different strategies and different elements coming together, combined in a unique way for the client's situation. You're going to get a much better outcome than just simply going blindly into and paying taxes. Like even just the Secure Act 2.0, the beneficiary's got to take the money out over 10 years and they get walloped with taxes.
Yeah.
You could use a charitable beneficiary designation to the children in the form of a charitable trust.
Yes.
Where they get a lifetime income from it, or for a predetermined period of time, and not pay any of that tax and still get an income stream from it.
That's right.
There's crazy stuff that you can do.
That's right. That's a popular conversation, frankly, that we're having with individuals. And, you brought up, and again, sorry to hear about your dad, but you brought up about how you meet routinely, which is so important. Professional advisors talking with their clients. One thing we saw, which if you asked me 8 years ago, would I be on a Zoom talking with someone about their will or about a charitable remainder trust or a lead trust? I'm saying talking with a grateful patient, a donor, or even a professional advisor. I would have thrown stones at the idea.
Or a team on the same Zoom call, and everybody's in a different location, and we're getting together to have this conversation. COVID, the greatest benefit of COVID is the fact that web-based meetings became normal. They existed before,
right?
But it was like voodoo. And now it's like, well, I have clients that are literally across town. The traffic at 3:00 to come to your office is horrific.
Yes.
Why don't we just Zoom?
Yeah.
And we buy back an hour of our time.
Well, that's right. And so true. And we, in the industry of estate planning and gift planning, and what you do, we had more conversations around estate planning, sadly, during COVID. COVID was an equalizer, in so many different things where people saw, individuals who are younger, just get sick, and really opened the eyes to, hey, I got to think about these plans that, this document over here that I haven't looked at or touched in 20 years. And so we had individuals reaching out. We had conversations with families. We had will discussions, so much more than I had ever had, frankly, in 3 decades. And I'm saying just, as I said, on Zoom, and people really open to the conversation. And interestingly, I feel it's carried over. I feel people are more willing. It's not taboo to talk about, well, have you thought about your will?
Yeah.
And that's something that, and being in healthcare, these are conversations that we have. You talk about mortality, you talk about these things. So it has, in some ways, been had an effect where we've had more conversations with professional advisors, and that's been a real benefit because what you find is some people have used the same person for 20, 30 years, so they really know a lot about the individual. And when the professional advisor is saying, what's your legacy going to be? And they then can have that very open conversation as it relates to assets.
Yeah.
And then they come back to us and, we're really talking about a very vibrant plan. So it's I just know it's a tangent, but it was kind of the byproduct of COVID.
Fabulous byproduct.
Yeah.
I think people became more open to talk about issues that they didn't want to talk about.
Yep.
I think the access to be able to talk about it through, online meeting, whatever the platform is, Zoom took over and everybody started Zooming. But like we used to use, WebEx and all the other GoToMeeting. There's so many different variations of it, right? But I think the point of communication, and that's one of the things that I really need people to understand, that like, when you don't talk about money, you are compounding problems in your family for generations, right?
That's true.
And if you talk about money and you talk about the purpose of the money and you talk about your wants and your desires and your relationships with that money, and everybody understands there is a pro, something really good, and a con, something not so good. And there's usually 10 pros and 10 cons. Sometimes there's, but people always go, oh, here's how great this is. And they don't talk about the bad stuff. And the reality is, if you talk about both sides, now you can effectively make a plan. And people come in like, I got to do a CRT. Like, why? Let's understand, like, what?
Right.
Well, I got a tax problem. I'm like, well, so does everybody. Like, let's talk about what you want to achieve with it. Just because it's going to, get rid of a capital gain tax, it doesn't mean you should necessarily do it. But maybe it's a split strategy. It's 4 strategies. It's 3 strategies. And that's the thing that I want people to really understand, is that charitable giving, one for the charity, great outcome, right? Whether they get the money today, tomorrow, or 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, or 59 years from now, that has to be beneficial to you, because what you don't want to do is give away money and not have money. Because, money isn't everything, but without it, you can't go out to dinner.
And we have some good restaurants around here.
Yeah, consistently to a good place. You can go to some, soup kitchens or whatever. But my point is, these are things that you need to look into your community and say, how can I make a difference in the community, and how does it spill into the rest of that community? And I wanted to have you on today because people who have complex problems, tax problems, right? There are not simple, easy to understand answers, right? Those are typically wrong. Like, oh, just do this. Right?
Yeah.
It typically requires that team approach to say, the wealth advisor, the accountant, the attorney, the planned, charitable giving specialist, right? The person who's truly expert at it, the custodians who are going to keep track of this and manage, the trust companies are going to manage the flow. These are all highly, highly, highly important in the coordination. But most importantly, it's the documentation.
That's right.
So that on the back end of this, like if I did a charitable remainder trust yesterday and died this morning, now we know it's not true, and nobody in my family understood what I did. And I did it didn't have a fixed time. It was a lifetime one, which means my lifetime is over. And they're expecting, hey, dad had the $2 million sitting in blah, blah, blah. Where is it? Oh, it's in a charitable remainder trust. What do you mean there's nothing? They don't understand that. And he didn't have a replacement asset, such as the life insurance or some other fabulous vehicle. That like, we didn't talk about this.
Yeah.
And now there's a problem in multiple generations. And the whole idea is get a really good, solid plan, understand how this charitable contribution wins at our level, wins at the second generation or the next generation level, right? And it ultimately wins at your level, the charity who's benefiting from this.
Well, that you just brought up such an important about communication, because, you always hope that people are communicating with family or loved ones, whomever they're leaving as their legacy too. But many times we find, and they're actually the saddest days for me, and it's frequent, where I come in and I receive a notice of probate. So somebody left us in their estate plan, left one of the hospitals, and we never knew. We never got an opportunity. And again, whether it was the donor just doing something charitable or working with their professional advisor, put this in. And, again, if it was they wanted to remain anonymous, that's one thing. But there are times where we look and we just say, gee, we wish they would have notified us, because we would have loved to have thanked them during their lifetime and have an opportunity to share enthusiasm for something that, let's face it, when a donor includes an organization in their will, they're elevating that organization to the level of a family member or a friend, which is so incredibly special, important, and we want to thank people for doing that. And that is, about that communication. When we receive something, like we'll do mailings and someone will say, I've included you in our estate plan. And those are thrilling days for us, because they're letting us know that they did that. And we usually call to thank them. Oh, you don't need to thank me. And, we try to have that conversation to say, but we really want to
invite them to some sort of event.
Absolutely.
At one of the facilities.
Yes, we want to give you a tour. We'd love you to meet such and such nursing team.
We're doing a celebration of the new wing.
Correct.
That you help donate to.
That's correct.
Or you're going to help donate to. You're going to pay off the debt on the back end.
Well, that's so much of what those conversations, it really does lead to communication. And that's why we always have we try to outreach in so many different ways, because we want people to experience, frankly, the joy of philanthropy, because it can be such a joyful experience. And, one thing I wanted to mention is, people who are philanthropic, they may give to one organization that they are extremely passionate about, but they usually have others as well.
Yeah.
And so we see it especially with people who give to donor-advised funds. Trillions of dollars right now in donor-advised funds.
For the people that don't know what a donor-advised fund is, explain it.
Well, a donor-advised fund, I'm going to let you explain it.
So it's basically a big mutual fund, which you put your money into, and it goes, you get charitable, you do all kinds of different charitable stuff, and ultimately the money goes to the end of the charity, but you're pooling your resources together with other people.
Correct. And with a donor-advised fund, I think what's so impactful is it's becoming so highly popular. We always thought it was just, high net worth do donor-advised funds. That's not the case. No. It's becoming people who give to several charities. They want to get the money into a fund. It happens to be the DAFs. They get that immediate tax deduction, and then they have the ability to decide when they want to distribute and how and why. Right. So it buys them a little time. we see that especially toward November and December when people get their bonuses and things like that in the, in the stock world of individuals, they'll put their money in a DAF, and sometimes, it may sit there. That's why there's trillions of dollars in DAFs. But I say that because there are vehicles that, and even with charitable remainder trusts and other things, you can give to other charities and, and with beneficiary designations. I mean, we sometimes, or wills, we receive notice sometimes that we're one of 5 charities, so people that tend to be charitable, give to one and maybe give to 2 or 3. But it all started with the communication that we were talking about. It's so important that at some point along the way, and thankfully with donor advised funds, we hear about it during their lifetime. They, it comes to us. But with beneficiary designations, where we started, if people don't communicate that to us, we don't know. And that's where our relationships with professional advisors are really helpful.
I think people sometimes are reluctant because it is a beneficiary designation and it can be changed.
That's right.
So people are like, I might fall out of love with something, so I'm not going to let them know.
That's right.
And again, it's that communication. But if you let them know that you're going to be the primary beneficiary of this very large asset, then there's now an opportunity for you guys to make sure that you're fulfilling what the person wants or understanding what they want and saying, well, here's all the things that support it so we don't fall out of love.
That's right.
With the organization. That
is such an incredibly good point. We have many people that exactly what you said, they've included us and they're like, don't worry, you're in, that kind of thing. But we want to be sure that we're going to carry out their wishes. And there have been times, working at many organizations where you get a provision and it says the organization, if you're a large university, and the will provision, the attorney put the name of the university, but you look back on the donor's record and the donor was a graduate of a school of engineering and they loved athletics. They went to every football game and that's where they're giving.
And they would rather give to the scholarship fund.
Correct.
In the organization as opposed to the general fund.
Correct. And so those are the kind of conversations we like to have with individuals. And it's the same with a large organization like ours. If somebody puts a will provision and says Hackensack Meridian Health, that's great. And it's unrestricted and that's wonderful. But if the donor, loved a particular hospital or loved a particular area, a department, or was very passionate about behavioral health has become, an area that has grown in, which is a great thing in popularity, in visibility. So if someone wants to give to that, you want to just be sure that the provision says that. And so we're always loving this open line of communication. I'm so glad that, we've today had this conversation.
Does your foundation website have educational tools that people can come to?
We do. We have a website. So
what is the website?
Ours, Hackensack Meridian Health Foundation. So we have a website. Within that, the Office of Gift Planning has you just click on and we're there. And we have resources for any type of basically planned gift. So
people can go there and
they can learn about it, will provision, they can learn about DAFs. We actually have, if you click on to our DAF donation area, there is a menu, you click, another click, there's a drop down, and you can make a direct donation
right there.
Right there. So we want to make it super easy for people, and that's what's always important. We anytime somebody inquires or they send something to our office, we send a guide of materials that has everything on lead trust, charitable remainder trust, wills, and very simple, just how to give, how to make a, simple donation. That's all over our website. And it's Give HMH, you just click on and so there's just a ton of resources, and it's important because we have so many areas within the organization that people can give to.
Right.
So they want to, it's easy to be directed. So if it's a particular hospital, they go on to the general and then they can be directed there. So we have the information all out there. It's everywhere.
Makes sense.
But that's important. And then the other thing we do, as you know, because you attended one, is we try to do educational programming and awareness.
Yes.
Just to get the word out of
Guest speakers.
some of our, because there's so many great people who are affiliated that work closely with us, that are passionate about what we do. And then we bring in one of our fabulous doctors. We did a program that was terrific, or it was Don't Lose Sleep. The name of it, we called it Don't Lose Sleep Over Your Estate Planning. And our CEO, Mr. Garrett, Bob Garrett, he was a speaker. He was fantastic. And we had a sleep specialist, Dr. Pristis, from Bayshore Medical Center.
Nice.
And he runs that for the network. And they just did a great presentation. And, that we just try to educate people on, we have so much in such a large system that can really handle every area of healthcare. And it's, experts that are incredible, life-saving treatments that, and life-changing, so saving and changing, because, some people, it depends upon what the issue is. But it's important to get the word out. So we try to sometimes just pair some of the great healthcare expertise we have with estate planning and professional advisor expertise, because it's a natural marriage.
It's
really
a wonderful mix.
Yeah.
Because it gives you both sides of the coin.
That's right.
Of what has to happen. As we kind of wrap up here.
Yeah.
What do you, like, if you were thinking about this, in your brain, do you have like a checklist? Do you have like an idea? Like, where do I start?
As a donor, where does it?
I'm thinking, like, okay, this podcast is interesting. It's not necessarily going to Hackensack, right? It's like, I want to think about charitable giving.
Sure. Where
should I start?
So, I mean, when a donor's thinking about charitable giving, there's a couple of things. If they have a couple organizations that they're interested in, I mean, I think they have to, the conversation sometimes will start with, where are they really passionate? So whatever that organization is, they're going to consult some philanthropic advisor at the organization. So, let's say it is scholarships at, and you name it, anywhere, if it's their alma mater. And they're really passionate about the school that they graduated. If it was the business school or the law school of some alma mater, they're probably going to talk to someone at that institution. If they're on the board or if they're more engaged, then they're going to be speaking with leadership. But it starts with a simple conversation about, what can I do? And they start, they become really passionate about, well, you could impact X number of students, or and again, the same within ours and any charitable organization. So they start to get to the why. The why is what's motivating them. And the what is, what are they going to give to? Like to really get to the next level of conversation on, well, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And so it really is, it's philanthropic advisors. I put myself in that space. It's my colleagues across all charitable institutions, whether you're, the donor relations person, the executive director, they're going to get to somebody, the major gift fundraiser, the chief development officer, whoever it is, they're going to have a conversation. And that person's going to hopefully ignite a passion in them to find their what, to find the thing that they really want to do. And, giving you an example, I spoke with somebody not too long ago. She's a doctor. She wanted to give back to a medical school student because many, many years before, she received scholarship support when she was in medical school, realizes the cost, and so it was just, that was the passion, connected right away. But that could happen with any organization, whether it's the, any of the ones that you've been involved with, any organization. So they start there, and then they get pretty excited about the idea of doing something. And that's usually when they're having a conversation with the professional advisor, and they're saying, I just met with so-and-so, and I want to make a $50,000 gift. I know I got this appreciated stock, but I've also been really passionate about the idea of having this be in perpetuity. I want to establish an endowment, and I want to do it in my family name. I want my family's legacy to live with this institution forever.
Yeah.
So how can I do that? And you may be sitting there saying, well, we know you got the 50,000. That's easy. That's the stock. But to do the legacy, well, what does that take? Well, it's going to be $1 million endowment.
Right.
That's what it's going to be, or 2 million, or whatever their number is. 3 million, depending on what it is. Or it could be a lot more, or less. It could be $100,000 or $250,000 endowment. They want to do that, and that's where you come into play, and you start to look at their assets and say, well, you've got this life insurance policy, you've got and then we're having a conversation. Usually, if they give us the permission, we're talking to you, or we're talking to them through you. Usually, and I'd say 9 out of 10 times, someone is directing an individual like you to me to have a conversation, and to really, where we started earlier, to button up that paperwork, because you mentioned about your dad, and you said he passed away 3 years ago, and it's again, it's life and it's death. It's to be expected, but it's doesn't matter what age.
No.
You're never prepared for it. You never are ready for that.
No, you never are. And when you think you are, you realize you're not.
You're not, right?
And it might happen like 8 months later.
Yeah.
It may not happen in the moment because of the adrenaline, but it's always
that's right.
Always there.
And it's always there, and you're not ready for it. And so it's getting to the legacy piece. It's when somebody's really prepared to do it, it's really great to be in this situation. Then you have that conversation. Where does it start? It starts with the philanthropic advisor, gets to you, gets back to the philanthropic advisor, and ultimately the conversation is about that legacy. And the one thing as we close here is, in our world, I think the biggest service that we provide you, people like me, is peace of mind to a donor, that their legacy is going to be fulfilled, but also that it is buttoned up properly, financially, legally, whatever the case is, that it is finally not just in the mind, hey, I want to do this, because you just don't know what tomorrow brings. And God forbid you had it in the mind, and it was absolutely your intention, and something happens and you're no longer you're no longer with us, and then your dream, your legacy was not fulfilled because it wasn't written into a will or a trust or whatever
whatever it is. Jackie, this was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
How does somebody reach you if they want to reach out to the foundation? Is there a number?
Yeah.
Phone number?
Yeah. If they want to reach out to the foundation, they can call 2 numbers. So Jackie Bartley, Vice President for Gift Planning. The first number is 908-461-8042. And the other number is 848-308-5039. And I also obviously have email,
What's the website? Let's go.
Jackie.Bartley at hmhn.org. We're going to do that again. Jackie.Bartley at hmhn.org.
And then the website?
And the website is, you go to Hackensack Meridian Health Foundation.
It's a long one.
It's, yes.
.org?
Yeah. So it's,
.org.
it's, yeah, yeah. So you go onto our website, Hackensack Meridian Health Foundation.
Okay.
And that's where you will find us.
I really want to say thank you. I think there's a lot of things in here that are going to give people a reason to start thinking strategically, which is the goal of the podcast. Is there's more than one way to get what you want. And
100%.
you really got to plan it before you actually execute on it. And then once you execute, you need to continually come back and talk about it and figure out how I do more.